26101, Occupational Overview of Electrical Industry, Section 2.0.0, Training to be an Electrician. After completing this module, you should be able to explain how to become an electrical apprentice and describe types of trainings for the apprentices. There are no performance tasks. This is a knowledge-based module. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, electricians are in high demand. I'm going to put the word high in there. The work is interesting, the pay is high. But to be an electrician, you have to have the right skills. You must gain experience using tools, reading plans, and completing specific tasks. And you must do it all safely. Why do they jump down there? What is an apprentice? They say hundreds of years ago, a young person might have learned to be a blacksmith by becoming an apprentice to a blacksmith. Today, men and women still learn a trade by working as an apprentice. I'm going to go further. I'm going to say 2,000 years ago, they had what were called guilds. G-I-L-D. You're in a guild. I'm sorry, G-U-I-L-D. That was an apprenticeship. That was the first apprenticeships. 10,000 years ago, if your father was a goat farmer, you were a goat farmer and you apprenticed under him. They didn't call it apprenticeship. Basically, your whole life, you grew up learning how to herd goats and how to farm them, and you carried on in your father's stead. Then, like I say, 2,000, 2,500 years ago, you could actually change careers. If the carpenter in the town did not have any children of his own, you could go to that carpenter and you could say, I would like to learn how to be a carpenter. And he would take you under his wing and he'd teach you everything about being a carpenter. And that was your apprenticeship. You were in the Carpenter's Guild or the Mason's Guild, stacking together stones and blocks, cutting them to shape to make buildings. You could be a farmer, you could be, weave fabric out of threads, what have you. Those were all guilds. You could be a blacksmith, like they were saying. You could shoe horses, or you could make weapons for the king's knights, what have you. All of those were guilds. And that was the start of the apprenticeship program, and that's what we carry on today. If you want to be an electrician, you're going to have to work under someone else. You treat them with the respect they are due, even if they're not treating you with the proper respect that you are due. You treat them with respect because you respect their position, not the person. And if it's too bad, you can always go to your apprenticeship director and tell them that you need to be moved. You can't work under this person anymore. You don't have to be abused. You don't have to take it. But there are things that are not abuse. If they tell you you have to dig a ditch, that's not abuse. That's part of the job. One of the first jobs I was ever on, they handed me a shovel, and they handed my journeyman a shovel, and he and I started digging the ditch. And I said to him, I'm not surprised they would ask me to dig the ditch, but I'm surprised that they're asking you to dig a ditch. And he said, it's all part of the job. It's what us electricians do. If we need a pipe underground, we dig a ditch, we put the pipe in the ground, we bury the ditch. Some days you're working in the air conditioning with number 22 wire, very small wires making up telephone jacks. Some days you're out in the sun with a pickaxe trying to break through rock to dig a ditch. It's all part of the job. Anyway, as an electrical apprentice, you have an opportunity to learn skills from someone who's mastered the craft. You focus on learning by doing. Instead of just reading about a skill, you practice that skill. And here's a highlight. It says the U.S. Department of Labor, Office of Apprenticeships, sets the minimum standards for training programs in the United States. I believe, I was was going to say, it's 144 hours of classroom instruction per year. It might be a 4-year apprenticeship. It might be a 5-year apprenticeship. My understanding is that for electricians, it's a 4-year apprenticeship. If you go through the union makes you go through 5 years of apprenticeship. But they do it every 8 months is a year. So you can actually do 5-year apprenticeship at 3 years, 8 months. Every year has 2,000 hours of on-the-job learning. A 4-year apprenticeship, electrical apprenticeship requires at least 144 hours of classroom instruction per year times 4, 576 hours of classroom instruction, and 2,000 hours of on-the-job learning per year times 4, 8,000 hours of on-the-job learning. A journeyman or master electrician supervises your on-the-job learning. When you complete a registered apprenticeship program, you receive a journeyman certificate. Here in Florida, you will also probably sit for the Block and Associates test for journeyman electrician and get your journeyman's license in your municipality, or you can get one for the entire state. So here they're breaking down their NCCER. This is just a commercial for NCCER. I'm just going to move on. As a trainee, your NCCER education will come from the knowledge and skills in use by electricians and electrical businesses in the field. You'll learn the classroom and practice on the job. To advance, you'll demonstrate your competency. So here is an instructor instructing this gentleman on how to bend a 90-degree bend on electrical metallic tubing. It's thin wall, you don't thread it, and he's got a good foot pressure on the pedal of the bender. They call this the foot or the pedal. You always want to put a lot of foot pressure on that foot. I always say it's 80% foot pressure and only 20% hand pressure. If you try to use 80% hand pressure and you don't even put your foot on the pedal of the bender, you're going to kick the pipe. NCCER records your success as you work through the program. Each time you show a certified instructor that you have the knowledge and skills for a module, the information is entered in the NCCER system. And you'll have an NCCER card that goes with it. What does an apprentice do? As an apprentice, you meet the requirements to complete the program. Your on-the-job learning is set up so that you spend a specific number of hours learning each hands-on task. Total number of on-the-job learning hours for an electrical apprentice program is traditionally 8,000 hours in 4 years. That adds up to 4 years of training. In a traditional program, you may spend 2,000 hours per year to complete the required on-the-job learning. Because your NCCER program is competency-based, you might be able to complete the program in fewer hours if you demonstrate that you've learned the necessary skills. What do you need to succeed in an electrical apprenticeship program? A high school or technical school education, courses in shop, mechanical drawings, and general mathematics, the ability to use your hands for small or large tasks, good physical condition, quick reflexes, problem-solving abilities, a willingness to work with others, and concern for safety. I kind of wish concern for safety was the very first thing they mentioned. It's the most important. You need to make sure that you're working safely. You need to make sure that people around you are working safely. Your aptitude test results, usually you'll be submitted to the General Aptitude Test Battery, GATB. This is highlighted. So, General Aptitude Test Battery, GATB. Your school transcript or other proof of educational background. Generally, they want you to have a high school diploma or GED. It's a general equivalent diploma. Most, I always hesitate to say all, but I will tell you, I don't know of any apprenticeship programs that you can get into if you do not have a high school diploma. So At this point, if you have not gotten your high school diploma, you need to go get a GED. Go to remedial, do whatever it takes, get that GED. Proof of your age, such as your birth certificate, reference letters from employers and friends, can't be family members. A copy of your 8214 form, certificate of release of discharge from active duty if you're in the military. Record of any technical training that relates to the construction industry. If you worked in the electrical industry for 2 years and you have W-2s to prove it, you worked for Ace Electric, I just made that up, and you worked for them for 2 years and you have 4,000 hours of proof on your W-2s, you can use that when you go to an apprenticeship program. You can show them that documentation and they will give you credit for those 4,000 hours. The only time they will not give you credit is when you say you worked for your father or your uncle. I know, they don't believe you. They won't believe your father. If your father handwrites a letter saying, my son has worked for me for the last 2 years. If your father's not a contractor, the work didn't count. If your father is a contractor, they still don't take his word for it because he could just have been paying you for 2 years and he finally told you to go get a job. So, as much as it sounds like it's not fair, they won't. Some apprentices that I know of, apprenticeships, they won't accept any records coming from your father. All right. The following are typical requirements: wear all required personal protective equipment on the job, purchase and maintain tools of the trade as needed and required by the contractor, submit a monthly on-the-job learning report to the committee, report to the committee if your employment status changes, attend classroom-related instruction, and observe all classroom regulations such as attendance requirements. Okay. Two things to remember is that 144 hours a year of classroom training and 2,000 hours of on-the-job learning per year. Getting a head start. What if you don't want to wait until you graduate to start work as an apprentice? You might enroll in the Youth Apprenticeship Program. This program offers the following opportunities. You begin your apprenticeship training in the 11th grade. You work with local craft employers to learn the trade and earn money. You can complete up to 2 years of the 4-year NCCER standardized craft training program by the time you graduate from high school. All right. Will I be licensed? No. An important goal of completing an electrical apprenticeship is to earn your license. A license shows employers and clients that you're a qualified electrician. Simply taking the NCCER course is not going to give you licensure. If you're in an apprenticeship program for 4 years and you have the 8,000 hours of on-the-job learning and you also pass the 144 hours per year of classroom training, then yes, you can sit for the Florida Block and Associates test through your building trades commission and get a journeyman's license. Just simply graduating the class does not give you a journeyman's status or a journeyman's license in whatever state you're in. You need to check with your municipality as to what their prerequisites are, and if you need to take a test, and I'm 99% sure you're going to need to take a test to show them that you have the knowledge, and then you'll get your journeyman's license. Licensing requirements are different in every state. There may even be differences among the cities and towns within the same state. They call those municipalities. And I have a note here. It says licensing is up to the municipalities, the towns, the cities, the suburbs, to set the requirements to be licensed in that municipality. So it's up to the municipalities as to what it takes to be a journeyman in their municipality. How many years does it typically take to complete the NCCER electrical training program? 4. To enter an apprenticeship program, you're likely to have to submit to which of the following? The General Aptitude Test Battery Form Test Results. Okay, very good. We'll go on to the next section. Okay, this is 26101, Occupational Overview of the Electrical Industry. We're looking at 3.0.0, Employee and Employer Responsibilities. And yes, you have responsibilities as well as the employer does. Identify employee responsibilities, identify employer responsibilities. Working as an electrician can be dangerous. How can you be sure your co-workers and your clients will be safe while you complete your work on time and on budget? To do this, you and your employer must act professionally and follow all safety rules. So 3.1, wait a minute, what happened here? What did I just do? I'm sorry, hold on. Why does it keep jumping down like that? 3.1.0, Employee Responsibilities. What are your responsibilities as an employee? They range from showing up on time to knowing how to use equipment safely. So personal qualities you need for success include the following: honesty. You should be honest all the time. Integrity. You should demonstrate personal integrity. Loyalty. You should show loyalty to your company, your employer, your sponsor, your coworker, your trade association, and other organizations. Fairness. You should be fair at all times. Respect for others. Obedience. You should follow all rules and regulations at work, in school, and at home. Commitment to excellence and leadership. You should be a role model for others. So to be a professional, the way you behave on the job is called your professionalism. Professionalism is good for everyone on the job site. Qualities of professionalism are shown in Figure 12. So you need to be honest, productive, civil, safety-minded. One way you can show professionalism is through communication. When you speak, listen, and write, it's important to be polite and clear. You might use email to communicate with clients, coworkers, employees, employers. So, sample email, specification sheet. Dear Mr. Jones, try to be as succinct as possible. Emails should not be lengthy. Okay, but here he's writing about different things on the job. Oh, it says the under cabinet pendant light option for your kitchen are listed below. Specification sheets of lighting options are attached to this email. Please let me know what you decide by 6 p.m. on Wednesday, July 13th. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me. That's a very nicely worded letter. It tells him exactly what he needs to know. These are the two possibilities that he has, or actually has under cabinet lights available in multiple color options, and he has 4 of them listed. And then pendant lights, he has 4 of them listed, and he wants to know which one do you want. And then they break it down. I'm not going to break it down. 3.1.2, be honest. Are you honest? Do you have personal integrity? Honesty means more than just telling the truth. When you're honest, you use work ethics when you're on the job. You don't take material home. You need screws at home, go to Home Depot and buy them. I know you say, well, screws are 3 cents a piece. I could take a handful of them. It's dishonest. If you really needed 10 screws and you didn't want to have to buy 1,000, you can talk with your foreman and you say, look, I'm not trying to be dishonest here. I want you to know, if you say no, I'll respect that. I need some screws at home for a home project. Can I just take 10 of these home and use them? More than likely he'll say yes. If you say, I need 100 feet of pipe, no. There's a limit. go to Home Depot and buy your own pipe. But something small like a screw or a nail, I wouldn't consider that really stealing from the job. But be honest. Honest with yourself, honest with others. Don't take a box of anchors, you know. It's just, some of the anchors are very expensive. Some of them are $3 a piece. You take 100 of them and, you know, you've just taken $300 from that contractor. So respecting property, showing up on time, performing a job well, never cutting corners, using the correct materials. Also on being honest is being back from lunch on time. Your lunch is from 12 to 12:30, be back at 12:30. Uh, don't come back at 1 o'clock and expect, oh, I'm not going to say anything. Maybe they'll just go ahead and pay me for that half hour. That's dishonest. You're stealing. You're stealing money. Honesty leads to success for you and your employer. It's not simply a choice between good and bad, but a choice between success and failure. Being honest is a safe way for you to stay employed, earn a high income, and get positive reviews from employers and clients. Here's a caution. Dishonesty will always catch up with you. Whether you steal materials, tools, or equipment from the job site or simply lie about your work, it won't take long for your employer to find out. 3.1.3, show loyalty and respect. I've got a lot to say about this section, but let's read what they say. They say, are you loyal? Loyalty means that you look out for your employer's interests. You speak well of them to others and don't tell their secrets or gossip. In return, your employer should be loyal to you. They will hire you for steady work and promote you for better jobs. Are you respectful? Respect is how you treat other people and yourself. You're polite and fair. You consider others' viewpoints. With this loyalty thing, a lot has changed in the last 100 years when it comes to loyalty for you, from you to your company and from your company to you. And they will ask you for 2 weeks' notice. They won't give you 2 weeks' notice. If today's your last day, they'll tell you today's your last day. Go to the break trailer. We've got your check and your termination papers. We'll see you on the next big one. When you're in the union, you get hired and fired all the time, and it's no big deal. You know, they start slowing down a job. At one point, they have 3,000 electricians on a job. Now they only need 150 electricians. Well, there's going to be a massive layoff. It's not a big deal. It's not an insult. It's not saying you didn't do your job. It says we're winding down. So we're going to send you back to the hall to get another job. Thanks for your hard work. But as far as if you're working for a contractor and that contractor's not treating you well, if one of your buddies asks you, they say, well, how is it to work for that company? Be honest with them. Say, I'm looking for another job. I don't want to work for them. You don't want to work for them. You know, if contractors start finding it difficult to find good workers, maybe they'll start treating the workers that they have a little bit more respectfully. I hate to say it that way, and I'm not trying to cause a riff or anything, but you know, loyalty is a two-way street. Anyway, that's enough of that. Let's move on. Show a willingness to learn. Are you ready to learn new skills? Every company and job site has its own way of doing things. You might not know everything when you show up on a job the first day, but your employer expects you to be willing to learn. That means listening to the more experienced people on the job site and following the job site rules. If there's something you don't know, ask. It's the easiest thing to do. Ask someone. Ask your coworkers. Ask your journeyman. Ask your foreman. Ask someone. Take responsibility. Do you know what a responsibility is? It's a task or job that someone expects you to do. Your employer will expect you to show up on time, see what needs to be done, and then do it. The example I always give is they teach you how to empty the trash can in the brake trailer. You see the trash can's full, they tell you, take out the bag, tie the ends of it together, put a new bag in the can, and then take this one out to the dumpster. Next week, you come into the brake trailer and you see it's overflowing. Go ahead and empty it. Don't wait for someone to have to say to you, John, go empty the trash can, and then the week after that, John, go empty the trash. Just take it as one of your responsibilities. You see it's full, empty it. Tie the ends together, put a new bag in, take that one out to the dumpster. It takes 2 minutes. It's not a big deal. You say, oh, well, no one else is doing it. They're treating me like the low man on the totem pole. You know why? Because you are. when, when you're an apprentice, you are the low man on the totem pole. You do empty the trash in the brake trailer. You do sweep out the brake trailer. You do fill the ice uh, coolers, the water coolers. These are just the things that you do because that's what they pay you to do. Someday you'll be a journeyman and you'll have an apprentice and you'll show him how to empty the trash can in the brake trailer. And once he's done it once or twice, you just tell him, this is now your job. Do this every time you see that it's full. A minimum of once a week, but every time it gets full. If it gets to the top of the trash can, empty it and put a new one in. Take responsibility. That's what this is all about. Show cooperation. Do you work well with others? Cooperation is the key to getting things done. As a craft worker, you'll usually be part of a team. I know. Everything is awesome. Everything is great when you're part of a team. All right. That include your employer, supervisor, and fellow workers. You can show cooperation by taking the following actions: respecting your teammates, giving helpful suggestions, avoiding negative comments, meeting your responsibilities. Sometimes someone has a really bad idea and they say it out loud. Don't make fun of them. You say, well, that's one way of thinking about it. Let's continue having this discussion. You don't have to belittle someone. You don't want to make somebody feel awkward or afraid to make a suggestion because the next suggestion they have might be brilliant. You never know. Uh, so don't shoot down someone's ideas. Try to come up with 3 or 4 ideas and then pick the best. If your journeyman says to you, this is what we're going to do, if you're an apprentice, then that's what you're going to do. You don't discuss it with the journeyman. You don't tell him, I have a better idea. You're the apprentice. While you're an apprentice, you should work with 4 or 5 or 6 different electricians. They should move you around and put you with different journeymen. You should see 5 or 6 different ways to do the same task. Then, when you become a journeyman, you pick the way you think is the best, and that's the way you do it. And when you have an apprentice, you teach them the way you think is the best way to do it. This way, the trade, the electrical industry, we're constantly becoming a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better because someone had a better idea, and now we're all going to follow that idea and do it that way. Don't be afraid to listen to someone else's idea. It might be lousy or it might be brilliant. 3.1.7, follow company policies. Company policies are important to ensure efficiency and prevent losses. Follow all company policies at all times. This can include things such as completing time cards, checking out tools, requesting materials, and many others. If you do not follow company policies, your employer may lose time, tools, or money. You may lose your job. Avoid tardiness and absenteeism. Those are the 2 worst offenses to a contractor. Tardiness means being late for work. Absenteeism means not showing up. There's going to come a time when you're on your way to work and you get stuck behind a train. You just know you're not going to get there on time. Call your foreman. Let him know. Have someone's phone number on you that you can call from the job and say, hey, I'm stuck behind a train. I'm coming, but I don't know if I'll be 10 minutes late or a half hour late. I'm trying to get there. If you know you're not going to make it, you're going to be absent. You got sick last night, whatever. You got some bad sushi or whatever. wake up or set your alarm. Call your foreman at 7 o'clock or 10 minutes before 7. Let him know before the day even starts. I'm not coming in today. I'm bedridden. I'm down. Uh, I ate some bad sushi last night. I'm not going to be in. I can't get away from the toilet. Whatever, you know. It's better than just not showing up. That's disrespectful, and it will lead to your termination if it happens a couple of times. I won't say multiple times. I mean a couple of times. It happens 2, 3 times. They'll tell you don't bother coming back. You know, they need someone they can rely on. But life happens. There's going to be a time when you're going to be absent. There's going to be a time when you're going to be late. It happens. Don't make it a habit. So here is a highlight. It says if you must be absent, call in as soon as possible so your employer can find a replacement. Respect safety. Everyone deserves a safe workplace. Your employer must keep the work site safe for all employees. In return, you must follow all safety rules and regulations. You must also make sure that the people who work for you and beside you are also following all safety rules and regulations. Keep a safe work site. All of those safety rules, they're not there to make your life miserable. They're there to make sure that you go home in the same condition you came to work, with all 10 fingers and toes. You don't have a broken arm. You're not bleeding. We don't want to see anyone get hurt. Follow all safety rules. So this is highlighted. It says report any unsafe equipment and conditions directly to your supervisor. If you pick up a skill saw and the bottom guard is broken, don't use it. Go to your supervisor, go to your foreman, let him know, hey, the bottom guard on this circular saw is broken. I don't think we should be using it. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration requires you to report hazardous conditions. This rule applies to every part of the construction industry. Whether you work for a large contractor or a small contractor, you're obligated to report unsafe conditions. If you see something unsafe while on the job, report it. Do not ignore it. It will not correct itself. Don't, what's the term here? Don't use a bazooka to kill a mosquito. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration is there to make sure that you have a work environment free from hazards. If there's something on the job site that you think is unsafe, don't call OSHA. That's not your first course of getting it resolved. The first course of getting it resolved is tell your foreman, tell your supervisor. You go to them and you say, hey, this ladder has a broken rung. They'll probably tell you immediately, cut it up and throw it in the dumpster. We don't want anyone to use it. We don't want anyone to get hurt on the job. So if it's not safe, let's get rid of it. Let's buy another one. If you're working for an employer and you say to them, hey, I need a safety harness, I'm going to be more than 6 feet up, and they say, yeah, you'll be fine. That's when you need to go to the steward or to the general contractor. And if you can't get any kind of satisfaction from going to them, then you call OSHA and you say, they're having us work above 6 feet without safety harnesses. That's a violation. That's what OSHA is there for. OSHA is there to make sure that all safety regulations are followed and complied with, and you can call them and report your boss, and you can even stay anonymous. You have to tell them who you are, but they will not tell your employer who complained. Okay, so, all right. Always report unsafe conditions. If you don't, the result could be serious injury or even death. OSHA workplace standards are not the only safety standards you need to know. You must also be familiar with both local codes and the National Electrical Code. Some NEC requirements are tougher or more stringent than OSHA requirements. Temporary grounding is one example. When standards differ, you must always follow the most stringent requirement. So it says you must also follow the requirements of NFPA 70E, Standard for the Electrical Safety in the Workplace. The standard covers safe work practices to avoid electrical hazards. There you go. See, now that is a highlight. There you go. It describes in detail the steps for putting up a circuit or electrical system into an electrically safe working condition. Okay. Three point 2.0 Employer Responsibility. Your employer has a legal responsibility to meet workplace safety and health standards as set forth by OSHA, Occupational Safety and Health Administration. They're listed in the Occupational Safety and Health Act of 1970. And here this is highlighted. It says OSHA enforces these standards to make sure that employers provide and maintain a safe workplace for all employees. So they say health and safety. So safety is you don't fall and get hurt, you don't cut yourself, you wear gloves, what have you. Health is you're not exposed to ammonia gas that can make you sick. You're not exposed to asbestos. You're not working in the sun without some kind of sun protection. These are health concerns rather than safety concerns like falling or getting caught in between something or working in a trench that could cave in. So, according to OSHA standards, you're entitled to on-the-job safety training. Your employer must do the following: show you how to do your job safely, provide you with the required personal protective equipment, warn you about specific hazards, supervise you for safety while you perform the tasks. Most important general requirement that OSHA places on employers in the construction industry are the following. The employer must post in an easily seen area signs informing employees of their rights and responsibilities. The employer must ensure that there are no serious hazards on the job site, make sure the workplace complies with OSHA rules and regulations. Employers must post warning signs, posters, and labels in all required areas. The employer must perform frequent and regular job site inspections of equipment. The employer must instruct all employees to recognize and avoid unsafe conditions and know the regulations that pertain to the job so employees may control or eliminate any hazards. No one may use any tools, equipment, machines, or materials that do not comply with 1926, construction industry. CFR 1910 is general industry. CFR 1926 is the construction industry. Okay. So the employer must ensure that only qualified individuals operate tools, equipment, and machines. The employer must provide medical examinations when required by OSHA. Employers with more than 10 employees must keep records of work-related injuries and illnesses. These records must be available to the employees. You have a right to see your medical records anytime you want. The standard that covers safe work practices to avoid electrical hazards, NFPA 70E, and OSHA standards for general industry are covered in 1910. CFR 1910 is general industry. CFR 1926 is construction. This concludes 26101, occupational overview of the electrical industry. I hope you got something out of it. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give me a like, a thumbs up, and consider subscribing to my channel. Thank you, and I'll see you on the next video. Hey, this is Brian Young. If you liked my video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. I'll see you on the next video.